With us today on the Big App Show, author of a book that fascinated me to no end for a number of reasons, personal reasons as well, which maybe we'll get into. But the premise of this book is, at surface, so easy to understand, but when you get into it, it's just mind-boggling. With us, the author of Sick, a memoir, Joshua Cody. Welcome to the Big App Show.
Thank you.
So, when people say, tell me about the book, by the way, I love the physical aspects of your book. It's really nice the way...
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, it's high class. It's really, it's nice. Perfect.
Did a great job on it.
You know, I said, well, it's a guy who went through cancer and he documented what he went through, and that's what the book is about. But when you read it, it's like, it's part history lesson, it's part personal journal, it's part double album, it's part acid trip. I mean, it's fantastic to read. And just looking at some of, at the cover and what some people are saying about it, I think it's absolutely true. I'm almost not sure where to start other than you discover you have cancer, you start chronicling it. Where do you take it from there?
The discovery of...
Well, you discover that you have cancer, and then you start journaling your life, essentially.
Yeah. Well, I had been, I never intended really to publish a book or even write a book. I had been habitual journal keeper since I was very young. And so the book, the origin of the book is in those journals that I was keeping when I was in the hospital. I mean, my situation was that I had a very treatable form of lymphoma that is, it's just statistically rare and usually very treatable and curable and everything like that. And it's just a mutation in DNA, so there's nothing, kind of health or lifestyle-wise that went along with it. So it was a big surprise. And then the second big surprise was that the chemo that usually takes care of this didn't work. And so I had to have a bone marrow transplant, all this radiation and chemo, and so then when you recover from one of those, then you're in the hospital for a really long time. And I was bored. And really to stave away boredom, I just started writing a lot, and that's where the book came from, although at that point I didn't ever think that it would ever be published or that it would even be a book. So it wasn't until a while after that I figured out it might be something, and then I showed it to a friend of mine who liked it, and then she showed it to an editor, and pretty much we realized that we had a book, and so then that's how it happened.
Well, it's great because cancer is in some ways such an open topic. Everyone, I mean, it happens to 1 in 3 Americans. Certainly, those are the statistics, not your particular form.
Yeah.
But yet, there's so much unknown about it. What people go through, and I don't know how much. Even though there's a lot of basically photocopies of the actual journals you wrote and some of the notes you took, and some, as I said, it's like. Part of it's just an acid trip, which it was just like really entertaining. Some of the things that you had doodled and had put together and done little collages. But for me, and possibly for lots of people out there who have not had cancer but have witnessed it close up, like my mother died 4 years ago.
Oh,
I was like, yeah, but I was like, oh my gosh, now I understand so much better what she might have been going through. Have people responded that way to you about the book?
Yeah, that's been really, really gratifying, actually. The experience is so personal. I mean, it really couldn't be more individual in terms of subjectivity and all the ramifications that sort of a brush with mortality has. And I remember that a few weeks ago, The Guardian published an excerpt of the book. It wasn't really an excerpt, actually. It was more of a sort of a montage or selection of passages from the book, which they reconfigured a little bit, they did a very good job. And I mean, all of the responses were from readers that either had kind of been through a similar situation themselves or had friends or family members that had. As you say, it's a very common thing to go through, and that response was very positive and very moving. You know, after I sort of got past the initial draft of the book, I'm a musician, a composer by nature, and so I think by intuition I sort of rely on approaching writing in terms of, well, formally I think maybe in terms of music, and especially for a book like this that's sort of like a memoir. I mean, they call it a memoir. I don't really think of it as a memoir, but it's obviously nonfiction, and it's in a way kind of non-narrative. I mean, it's essentially an essay, I think is what it is. It's sort of a free-form essay, and so to find a form for that, I think I rely intuitively on musical form. So I, in a way, tend to sort of dissociate the subject matter from the design of the book, and it's a nice reminder. It's a very wonderful reminder when someone reads it and can apply it to personal experience, lived experience, rather than just as a machine of words, you know.
When you, let's look at the comparisons. When you write a piece of music, if you compose something, do you get the same type of gratification, or is it the same feeling having written this? Are there parallels between writing music and writing a book like this?
Yeah, I think there are and there aren't. I mean, music is obviously, especially the music I was writing, which is modern concert music, sort of avant-garde. I mean, I was in some bands and stuff like that too, but kind of my big thing was modern concert music, and so anything like that. Or classical music I like a lot. I like all music very much. But music is probably the most, it's probably the least referential of the media that we have, because, it doesn't really exist in nature. I mean, you can talk about biomorphism and stuff like that, but there's not like you're not going to go out for a walk in the woods and find a D major chord sitting in a tree, obviously.
3 chords, that's all you need in nature.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah, right. Just one, really, not.
And auto-tune.
Yeah. But of course, you're writing about people you've met, and with literature, and you're writing about situations. And I, was really excited to, once I sort of figured out what I was doing, and I was actually writing a book, and that for some reason people kind of liked it kind of at the get-go. I have a really great agent and some really great editors, and I started having a lot of fun with that, because I could describe a room I was in words, or describe a person that I met, or sometimes 2 people and compositing them. Obviously it's nonfiction, but not names are changed, that kind of thing. And so yeah, that was really gratifying. I mean, to me it's a very enthusiastic and kind of ebullient book, which is the mark, I think, of a debut writer, even though it's not the first thing I've done in the arts. I've been writing music for so long, but I think it's a first book. It reminds me a little bit of, well, no one said this, but it reminds me a little bit of Prokofiev's first symphony, where he was so excited to get out of school, and so he kind of threw everything in there, the whole kitchen sink. And some people say that the book is undisciplined, and I think it is, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, it's exactly. It's art. It's unnatural, so it can be anything you want. I don't think there's any problem with that.
Yeah.
Do you find it hard to talk about the material in the book itself, since you've kind of, I can presume that you've written it off. It's like you've put it all here. You've chronicled it, and now you're doing interviews. You're doing promotion for the book. Is it hard to talk about that and go back into pieces of that?
Yeah, it really, really is. There's a very interesting review in The Guardian that, actually just a few days ago, so I'm so new to this world that I can't remember his name, but he's a very esteemed writer who thought that, who found the book very frustrating, because for him, it sort of skirted the issues at hand and was only rarely straightforward. And although it seems like a negative review, or a mixed review, because he also said it was very strong, and he liked it, but he did have that to say about it. And I would agree with that. And but the thing is that he seemed to think that he doesn't know my writing. I mean, nobody knows. You write a book book, you don't know what to think about the writer. You know, you have to write a couple before you kind of figure out what you're doing, essentially. And he thought that I was just sort of being clever with words or erudition, which I actually don't have. I'm not well read. You know, I haven't been studying. I've never taken an English class my whole life, or creative writing class my whole life, or anything. But he seemed to think that I was being sort of clever, and I wasn't. It was just because the experience, for me, it was too hard to talk about directly. And so that's why I kind of came up, or maybe more precisely, discovered a voice, which Jonathan Franzen aptly called manic. There was a bit of a manic voice in my head when I was in the hospital and dealing with all this stuff, and then writing it. And that's definitely what I tapped into to be able to write it, because I don't think I would have been able to write it kind of directly in a straightforward way. But then sometimes, of course, it does become straightforward, and that's when the register of the voice kind of drops out, and it drops out to various degrees. And that's actually the form of the book. So there is a design or a form to it, but it's not you know, just laziness or whatever. It's intentional, because that's the only way that I found to that I could express it. Like, I can't read the book. I mean, I can read this stuff. I can read I can read some of it, but some of it I can't really read. I would never read from it in public, but literally I can't even read it. You know? Right. So that was just my, yeah.
Well, and maybe if it helps you to put your mind at ease, to me, you know, I look at this, when the Rolling Stones came out, had, you know, we joke about three chords and distortion. You know, people were saying, these guys are nuts, this is no good, this is crap. You know, and of course, I think we would disagree. You've actually referenced the Rolling Stones in the book.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, by the way, because you know that you're a composer of, well, classical music wouldn't be fair to say, but you're a composer. You write music, and there's so many pop cultural references and just so much stuff that, you know, I mean, oh, this guy's not a boring fuddy-duddy. You know, he's totally hip to it, and that by itself, I think, changed, you know, it's a whole bunch of perceptions, preconceived notions, if you will, about maybe the world that you live in. Do you feel now that you want to continue writing, or you do this alongside your music? Is it, I mean, because sometimes people wake up and they'll be doing this all their life, and then, oh, wait a minute, this is what I want to do? Did you have one of those moments, you think?
Oh, yeah, I think so, yeah. Yeah. I'm about 60,000 pages into another book.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, I think it's an interesting sort of pivot in life. You know, we'll see. I mean, it's just been really recent, but yeah, we'll see. I love music, but honestly, if I had to say, I think that the music I was writing was that of sort of a skilled, clever young man. And this thing is way more personal. And I do notice that no one, for some reason, it could be just the subject matter alone of this thing that you have, but it could also be the way that it's treated, or both. But it seems to really, people have very strong feelings about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, no one's kind of like, yeah, it was pretty good. You know, yeah, it was a good read. I mean, I've had like very intense reactions, and that's true, you know, for just readers, but also critically too. I mean, it's not nobody's really neutral about it. I think maybe one critic was. I think it was Publishers Weekly, I think, who liked it, but they said, you know, it's fine or something. But it's very little of that. For some reason, it really.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are afraid of the topic, man. I think that's the bottom line. It's a really scary topic. You know, everyone knows someone in their life who deals with cancer one way or the other. It's so prevalent in our society, and you know, people bring their own baggage to it, which of course is what's great about it. I think that's what makes it a perfect work of art. And you're obviously kind of a twisted guy, you know, and that works great. You know, that's the stuff that the legends are born of. That's why I'm very excited to talk to you about it, because because it really hit me, man. This is some really good stuff, and it's, as I said, it's twisted, but also nice to be taken back to the golden ratio. You know, it's like you forget about that and how that works in music, and then how you can relate that to your, you know, your 7 to 5, your 12. Twice, you know, every 2 weeks for 12 weeks for your chemotherapy. I mean, that's interesting stuff. It really is, and I hope we'll see more of that in your next book.
Yeah, I mean, the next one is just a novel, so I can be much more honest and autobiographical.
Oh, right. You can really talk about yourself then.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's going to be indulgent. You know, this thing. Yeah. Jonathan Franzen again said. He called it he said it was the work of a moderately deranged author. I think that's very...
that's a compliment.
That's a very good description, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. You basically went through a journey that I would wager the majority of the American population does not do, even though they have it within themselves, and you don't have to have a horrible disease to really delve into yourself, your life, your crazy thoughts, the beauty of nature, sex in certain ways, and again, I think that's why the timing of this book is really good, and people should be able. It's like I don't know. To me, it's just like a '60s type moment. You know, oh, here's something completely new. It's really different. So it's just a compliment, and I was wondering if you felt any of those parallels, or how that's. You know, that maybe you hope that this influence people and not just be, a book about cancer.
Oh, I mean, that'd be terrific. I mean, it's fun what people say. It's so fun to get the reactions from something that you've written. And the New York Times said that it was not the work of I was afraid that it was going to be like, who cares? In fact, I thought that the book that we have now was the first half of the book, and it was this sort of slightly stream of consciousness. I don't even like that phrase, but sort of elliptical, nonlinear, very digressive sort of stuff about what I was thinking and the way my mind was kind of leaping around when I was very scared about things. And but I thought that was going to be. But I thought, well, who's going to care about this? There's got to be another half of the book, which is going to be about, it's going to be more straightforward and have a more kind of journalistic approach to the questions of the healthcare system and illness. And I was going to do a little history of chemotherapy and stuff like that. And I just said, no, it's fine. That's it. That's all we need. This is the book, and here we go. And then that's what we have essentially. And the editing process was not too extreme. But the Times said when it finally came out, this was a few weeks ago. Times said, it's not an introverted book. He seems to care more about the world outside than what actually is going on. And I said, I don't know if that was meant as a criticism or praise or not, but to me, I thought that was wonderful because I think that'd be great. I mean, there is sort of a political thing going on in the book, and one of the things is the very basic pull that we all feel between the global and the personal. That was actually a little bit more explicit in the original version. We had to edit some of that stuff for kind of various reasons and legal reasons even. But but it's very nice of you to say that, and that's true. Yeah.
Well, screw the critics, first of all. I mean, I know this is the first time, but
no, and they have a very hard. They don't know me, and they all love the book, so I'm not complaining, but I'm just in that process right now. A month ago, if I had been talking about it, then I would have been talking about the last stages of editing, and then, of course, a year ago, I would have been talking about, writing it or refining it.
Right.
But no, critics are, I like critics. I've done a lot of criticism myself, and it's very hard to be a critic. I mean, you're confronted with a very chaotic, you get piles and piles of books on your desk, especially this thing comes along, and they have no idea who I am, they've never heard my name before, I'm not, in the world of literature whatsoever, and, they have to make sense of this. I mean, it's a position that can be abused, actually, but it's a fun dialogue, and it's good for the writer. I mean, these are very intelligent people, and it's an interesting conversation. It's an interesting type of conversation.
Okay, all right. I just like to read books, and I do the show to get free books. That's really why I do this. So I'm honest about that too.
Yeah.
So I just want to wind up, but just with my favorite bit from the book, which just like struck me. This is I don't know if you can see that. This is one of these collages that, that you made, and down below it says, "The stream of life is litter," and I'm like, yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
And but there's a couple of words crossed out, and I was wondering, is there something? Should we not know it? What was there, or is it unimportant, or?
Yeah, that whole thing is hilarious. My dad's journal that I found.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, he crossed that out. I don't know, the stream of life is litter. Yeah, right. I think garbage is the first word that Soderbergh uses in Sex, Lies, and Videotape. Who was talking about garbage the other day? Yeah, I don't know.
It's okay, because it's good. I love it.
Yeah.
The stream of life is litter. I like, yeah, that is so perfect. And reading this, there's just a lot of things in it. So in closing, great book. I really look forward to your to what you're going to do next. And I think you're going to be huge, man. I really do. I think you're doing something just at the right moment. Stuff came about, and of course, congratulations on beating cancer. Yeah.
Yes, that's the most important thing. It's yeah. Hopefully, that's sort of in the past now.
Well, you look good. You're a handsome man.
Well, same with you.
Joshua Cody, the author of Sick, a memoir, and of course you'll understand the title even better as you get into it. Real easy, if you want to get the book, just tap on the blue button overhead. It'll take you right into the Amazon store. Joshua, thanks for taking your... Yeah, there you go, right there. Thanks for taking the time. I really appreciate it. And good luck with everything. Hope to talk to you as soon as the next book comes out.
That'd be wonderful. My first Skype interview.
And you will. I've popped your Skype cherry and proud of it.
Yes, I have arrived.
Thanks again, man. I really appreciate it. It's great.
Wonderful talking with you. Thank you so much.
Okay.